Winter holidays, and today we have with us a guest speaker, one of our wonderful team members, Amanda, and I'll let her do a little introduction on herself in just a moment, whenever you're ready.
Well, hey everybody. I almost said good morning. I'm still stuck in early morning. I think this gloomy weather has me feeling like it's like 9 o'clock a.m., not p.m.
Mhm.
But good morning, everybody. I feel like it's been such a long time since I have taken up space virtually with my PRN family. And so I'm happy to be here. For those of you who have never saw me before, because it has been a while, my name is Amanda. I'm a peer support specialist at Promise Resource Network. I'm the director of community initiatives. So I work with our Shelter Plus Care team. I work with the folks that are supporting people that are currently experiencing being without a home. And then I just kind of get my fingers in everything that has to do with supporting and loving people and growing this peer support workforce. And I am excited to be here today, Jane. Thank you.
Thanks for joining. We couldn't have Alex here today, obviously, but Amanda and I have just as great conversations offline as Alex and I do. So I figured she's the first person I'm going to go to have this conversation with y'all today. And I'm glad she could do it, especially since our entire team has been wiped out with viruses this past week. So thank you for being well enough to do this. So for today, we just have some small exercises. All you would need to have is either your Word document open so that you can write down the questions or take notes or get a pad of paper and a pen. We got a couple of questions we'll explore today, but those are the only tools you'll need for that. So like every time we talk about what shadow work is, basically, it is when you are ready and truly honest with yourself about growing or changing and living your life to the fullest. You will at some point come across those parts of yourself that you just find difficult to accept. And the aim of shadow work is to heal and to become fully integrated. And guess what? This is our holiday edition for a reason, because guess what? The holiday season gives us plenty of opportunities to recognize and learn about our shadows, certainly the shadows of others, but we got to own our own stuff in there too. So holidays, I think, can be stressful because of that. We're looking at parts of ourselves that maybe we aren't comfortable with, or maybe we haven't really been ready to look at before, but we're also bearing witness to the people around us and the shadows that they may bring to the table, literally to the table if we're having holiday meals together. So today, our session is about bringing light into those holiday shadows. The last time we met, we talked about how the shadow wears many faces, and it could be something like being fearful or being greedy, being angry, being vindictive, selfish, manipulative, controlling, lazy, hostile, cheap, critical, judgmental, all this fun stuff, right? So there are those parts of us that embarrass us. So the activity to start with is take a moment and answer this first question, just with the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think it out, just write down or type out what comes to mind. First question is, what shadow aspects show up at your family gatherings, past or present? I'll do it one more time. What shadow aspects show up at your family gatherings, past or present? And then the next one, and then Amanda and I will do some bantering about those questions with ourselves. The second question is, what shadow aspect shows up in you at those family gatherings? And family is family of origin, or maybe your family of choice. Any of those gatherings that give you opportunities to learn and grow. So the second question again was, what shadow aspect in you shows up at your family gatherings? I feel like, Amanda, there are a bunch of movies out there about holidays with family
Yeah.
because of this.
Yeah. I mean, they have whole networks that open up during the holiday season to make movies and show them about this.
People coming together and having to heal and grow. And sometimes people actually having fun.
Sometimes.
Is that all good?
And sometimes not, right? Like sometimes making peace that this is something that I want to do again
Yeah.
and creating my own version of what that looks like. You know, there are the few and far between that move that way. And I like that because I think it honors that it doesn't have to be, we don't have to make amends and move forward. Sometimes things just aren't good. You know, sometimes people just aren't healthy, and it's okay to create our own traditions and journeys that work better for us.
I like the reminder that we can create the holiday season or celebration in a way that feels good. Um, I think that our Western culture, actually, this very smart woman that I know, hint, hint, posted something on our internal Teams chat about statistically holidays being what, like a rough time of year, right? So,
Yeah, it's like the roughest time of year. And I think so many things come into play with that. You know, I think that the weather and the time change for those of us who are still in places that have time changes, I think all of that, you know, plays into our personal stuff and our chemical, for me, a chemical imbalance, you know. But then I think just the pressure of having to maybe like, you know, meet the expectations of other people. Gift giving is so, it's so beautiful, but it's also so stressful to worry about if somebody's going to like what you picked out for them, especially if maybe they're not always the best like recipient of things and maybe they're really critical. um you know, I think there's just so many things that are just in the air this time of year that make it so hard.
the gift giving, this wasn't even one of the stories that came to mind this morning. Oh my gosh, guys.
Triggered.
I was telling Amanda that every time that we do this session, sometime in the morning before we get together and talk, some sort of epiphany hits me because I'm thinking about this topic and working towards this topic. So I've got some stories to get to in a minute. But what you just said, Amanda, about gift giving, oh my gosh, it triggered two very distinct memories. You know, in the movies, you see gift giving as this wonderful experience. People are gathered around the tree
Yeah.
and passing out these beautifully wrapped presents. Oh my gosh, if you see my wrapping, it never looks like, seriously, how can anyone make it look that good? Anyways, movies make it look great. The first the first story that came to mind when you brought up gift giving was it was my last Christmas at home before I moved to college. And I'm 12 years and 16 years older than my brother and my sister. So that year for Christmas, I got a bathrobe, and my 5-year-old brother got a $500 electric car. And my sister got like one little stuffed animal. Who do you think the favorite in
What?
that family is, huh?
Oh my goodness.
That just, you know, I think that was maybe the beginning of when I started realizing I didn't like holidays. And it wasn't about the gift, it was about my family's lack of awareness about how clearly they picked a favorite child, you know? But
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I mean, there's some like feeling I can definitely relate to there, you know, just like the feeling of like abandonment and a banishment, you know. You're not even worthy of this. My home was not the same in the gift giving aspect. My parents were very good about what I had, my sister had. Um, and they were very good about like getting the things that we wanted. And I was very lucky that way. But there was always this expectation that I think maybe was self imposed from people in my family about this is the way holidays are supposed to feel. And there would be so much stress around that, that emotions would be so high that then it was just chaotic and it was drama. And, you know, I remember being like the kid who wanted to help my mom cook. And because things were so high, you know, it was to get out of the kitchen. I'm sure that many mothers can relate to this. I don't have children. So this is not something that I have to work through as an adult now with having a child in the kitchen, but I can understand that is probably a lot to handle while you're already worried about who's not going to like this dish and who's going to have something to say about this dish and the critiques, right? While I don't feel like I ever grew up in a home where there was a lot of critiques, I do feel like I spent a lot of time like, okay, does this look good? Is this going to be accepted? Is this going to be liked? And I don't know if that was my own stuff, right? Like, or if that was something that was being given to me. But I'm even like that today. But I remember being like, get out of the kitchen, it would be a verbal argument, it would get heated, and then we would all be pissed off the rest of the day. And it would be just heavy all day long. I remember feeling like, ugh, I wish we didn't even have to do this. I should have never went to the kitchen. I'm never going to ask to help again. I still went and asked to help the next day, you know, but yeah, I can relate to that feeling of, can you not see? I just want to like be here. I just want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
It's so complex. It's so complex.
It is, because we're all individuals carrying our own stuff, our own shadows, our own reactions. And, you know, I'm a mom, he's 21 now, but the holiday meals, I have the recipes and the plan for cooking in my head, because you got to make sure you've got room in on the oven and on the stove, and I've got this whole thing sorted out. So whenever he or even my husband came in to help, it just messed things up. And I am fully aware that they just wanted to be part of it, but I'm like, just no, I've got a rhythm here. Or they'd say, well, give me something to do. What can I do? And I'd have to just stand there and try to think about what they could do, because, you know, it's all in my head and it's all orchestrated. And I'm like, nothing. It's easier for you to not help. Looking back, you know, I'm going to have to talk to Grant later and say, I'm really sorry if I made you feel unincluded when we were making Christmas meals, because that was not my intention. It's really just that I have a type A personality and I couldn't hold all the information in my head. It's not about you at all.
Well, so here's the caveat, is that there were also the same conversations at the same time that were happening. Can y'all just help me? And so, but I want to help how I want to help, right? Which is I want to help cook because I also like food. So like I got a couple of motives here. It's not just so I can learn like how to make mom's potato salad. It's because I also want to taste it because it's my favorite thing she makes, right? But her definition of help was, can you vacuum the carpet? We're going to have company later. Can you get yourselves ready? We're about to leave in 15 minutes and you're not even ready yet. Can you help load the car? Like, but the direction wasn't there. So maybe Grant had a different experience. Maybe he didn't really want to be in the kitchen.
He wanted to lick the spatula with the chocolate or the frosting off.
That's the best part anyways.
Oh man, it made me think about probably one of our favorite one of my favorite family Christmas pictures of the three of us. I remember what was going on right before the picture. The picture turned out beautifully. Right before the picture, sit down, quit whining. Why are you whining? Sit still, smile at the camera. You know, all of us were smiling. We caught the moment of a real smile, but it was not a smile beforehand. It was not a smile after. It's that pressure of the holidays and having the family gathering the way we see it on TV or the way we've built it up to be in our heads. So, you know, by the time we took that picture, it turned out beautifully. I'm glad, but I always have the memory of what exactly it took to get that photo.
Yeah.
It was sad. Well,
I think most families have a picture similar to that just to make you feel a little bit better. I know we have a couple.
So. I feel like because there are all those holiday movies out there about families getting together for the holidays and all the stress of it, that I know I'm not alone. There's a whole movie industry built around that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to romanticize that though, and it sets us up for these expectations that for me when don't happen, then I feel let down and like it was my fault. And maybe that's my shadow, right? Is that like thinking that I am that powerful that I can really like control it and make it good or bad. And I can't do that.
We can wish. Well, I have one more Christmas present story that came to mind. This one, we were all adults at this point. This was probably like, I don't know, 15 to 20 years ago. Old enough to know better. So this Christmas, my parents had my sister distribute all the gifts to everybody. My brother was clearly getting something special, but they're like, shh, Literally, my parents were, shh, 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 just don't talk about it. My sister and I are, what the heck's that about? Then my mother brings me my bag, or she has my sister bring me my bag, and then we're done. So having my sister distribute the gifts was to highlight the fact that they did not get her gifts. And for me, when I opened the bag, it was a big bag. It was full of stuff that my mother had cleaned out of my dead aunt's closet 2 weeks before. And the reason I know that is because there was a calendar in there from 1996. This was 2006, by the way. There was a calendar in there from 1996 that I had given to my aunt. And then I recognized the stack of books that she would keep by her bedside and all this stuff. And on top of it all, there was one brand new thing, toe socks. That was my gift. Stuff from my dead aunt and toe socks. And whatever my brother got, we have no idea. It was clearly something so special that we couldn't talk about it. Oh, and that was the year also that my brother and I've talked about him on this before, so you guys know that our family history and all that. His Christmas gift for me that year was some like kitchen utensils because he just moved to a new apartment, and he opened it and looked at me and said, "Oh, you already got me stuff like this." So I'm like, all right, no idealized holiday gathering at my house. Not at all. Yet another reason I'm like, oh, no wonder I dread the holidays.
Yeah.
Didn't have really fun experiences in there. Hmm.
Wow. Wow. I think that for me, that shift happened when I was incarcerated. The growing up, there were a lot of things that were Hallmark-ish, and that was my mom's goal, was to have that. And so she wore a lot of pressure as well. Now that I think about it, she even likes to watch those movies today.
Aw.
And she talks about wanting a white Christmas and all these things that you see. Now she only wants it for that little amount of time, and then she wants it to go away. But the shift came in prison for me when I realized that it was just a day. And here I was amongst people that I may have just met, or at that point, maybe in a couple of years. And during my incarceration, my parents also separated and divorced. And so I came out and had a totally different idea of what family was. And then it was just not as important because it didn't match the things that I had growing up. So yeah, today I just don't really invest a lot into the holidays. And some of that is for protection. And we'll talk about that a little as we go on a little bit more. But it's just amazing how they can change, even if you've had really good holidays and then they cannot be important, or you've had really bad ones and maybe now they are. I'm curious to see what your holidays are like now, as a grown person with a child, and well, Grant's not a child no more, but, and then Larry. And so I'm just curious to how that's changed and how that shadow shifted for you around holidays. So I'm interested to hear how that shifts.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Tradition became really important to me because we didn't have that. There was no tradition. And so when Grant was a little guy, he was really into soldiers and police officers and fire truck, anybody with a uniform. And so we got him a nutcracker one year because it was a soldier in a uniform. And then the following year, we found another cute one that was a little bit different. And then we just sort of ended up with this tradition of making sure there's at least one nutcracker as a gift to him under the tree every year. And it's supposed to symbolize something that happened that year. So for this year, gotta make sure he's not around. For this year, we got a nutcracker of a doctor to symbolize the end of the pandemic, because it's been a rough couple years and we're all going to remember this, right? So yeah, that's a good question, Amanda. I'm going to be thinking about that because it has been I've been very intentional about things. Our family, the way that we have done our holidays is we travel. We just don't stay home. We go away for a week, and that's how we avoid any of the trauma that the holidays could bring, because we're out doing something different and exploring something different. And actually, so going back to those questions, the first one was about what shadow aspects show up in your family? And then the other question was, what shadow aspects do you recognize in yourself? Um, when I thought about this question this morning, I'm going to have to ask these questions to Grant later too, and see what his perspective is on our family shadows and those times. That's just this poor kid. He's going to have this whole long conversation with his mom. He's going to be like, "Really, mom?" But so for me, growing up, it was an odd mix, right? My grandpa he was the one person in my life that loved me unconditionally, and he's the reason that I had resilience and have resilience and was able to overcome a lot of the challenges that were in my family of origin. So on the one hand, there was this wonderful Christmas because I could be with him, and he went out of his way to try to make them good Christmases. But it wasn't just him, it was the rest of the family at the table. And so one year, I just moved to college probably, and we were at my grandmother's house. My grandmother and grandfather hadn't been together for a long time. There's a whole shadow that I'll talk about in a moment with that. So we're gathered around the table having the meal, and my uncle, who struggled with substance use disorder his whole life, was inebriated by the time he got to dinner, and it got worse as dinner went on. His boyfriend looked uncomfortable, and I felt uncomfortable because he was mean. He was really mean, and the rest of the family at the table just ignored it. He would say something really rude to any one of us at the table, and someone would say, "Please pass the rolls." And it was a very Twilight Zone experience for me because I could see what was happening and I was witnessing it. And yet nobody is responding to it in the way that I'm experiencing it. What's going on here? Is this reality? Am I interpreting this wrong? What's going on? Well, my father wasn't there for that holiday, and he called to wish us all Merry Christmas. And when I took my turn with him on the phone, I went in the other room and I said, "This is this thing that's going on. Uncle Mike is being really mean," and shared the things going on. And he said, "All right, well, I'll talk to Grandpa." Grandpa went in for his turn, and then I went back in for my turn on the phone, and my dad said, "It's okay, everything's okay." And that was the end of the conversation. And I go back to the table, and everything's just as it was. Everyone was still just ignoring, the meanness, the rudeness, the inconsiderate conversations, and the putting people down. And I thought, this is okay. So there's that first shadow experience of the shadow is really like the elephant in the room in that case. Here is the reality. There is unacceptable behavior happening at this table, and nobody is saying anything about it. And then the other part of shadow with our holidays, again, with my grandpa, who I really love dearly and who I credit with my ability to survive, he had two families. And as I got older, he told me probably in my 30s that he had never divorced my grandmother because she would have lost her benefits. And he had really amazing benefits, and she had a lot of diagnoses, mental health and physical health. And, their generation, divorce was really, really taboo. But he had been with the other woman that I call my grandmother as well, because she has been such a positive impact on my life. He had been with my other grandmother for probably since I was in elementary school, and I didn't meet her. Our family didn't know about her until I moved to college. So for holidays, what became apparent, what we'd never known before then, and then what I watched continue after that, was he would have holiday meals with my family, and then they would set up a holiday meal with her family separately. It was never integrated. There was never even mention of the other family. And I didn't even meet one of her adult sons until her funeral last year. So the shadow in that case was, from the age I am now, I think the shadow was shame. I think it was shame based. My grandpa and her both feeling shame about being together without being married. She had a very strong Catholic background. And my grandfather, because he didn't want to be married to my grandmother, but he felt obligated to. And so there was shame because it was still cheating, even though he was really emotionally divorced from her for decades. So yeah, the family shadows were about ignoring things, ignoring the obvious, and just pretending it's not happening. So then that second question for the exercise today was, what shadow aspect do you recognize in yourself from family gatherings? And this was that aha moment I had this morning. I'm like, darn it, every time I do class, one of these things pops up. The one that popped up today was, I do the same thing now. I ignore. It appalled me when I was younger to watch the adults just ignore what was going on. I thought that, how can you ignore reality? You're not being authentic to yourself or to the situation. How can everyone just sit here and ignore this? And then I looked at myself this morning, and my shadow shows up at that holiday gathering table, just like my parents and just like my grandparents, where I am not my authentic self because because to do so would actually create more of a problem than to just be me, you know?
Yep. I fully get that. I feel like a lot of times the reason, especially around family, that I don't show up my authentic self is to mitigate risk, whether it's for them, right, or whether it's for me. I mean, it's always for me. They just may also benefit as well. But that is a lot of times why I don't say the things that I want to say or show up the ways that I want to show up, because I think to myself, is it really worth it? Is it really going to change anything? What will change what's happening? And 9 out of 10 times, the answer is to not go. So if I'm going to continue to make the choice to show up, right, like I'm going to at least participate in making it as bearable for all of us as I can, because I can look around and tell that a lot of us are on the same page and don't want to be here. They're like, oh my God, we got to do this again. Like, I get it. And a lot of us are only there for certain people like you, like my grandfather. Like, I'm 37 years old. My grandparents are older. And so he was a big part of my life as well. And so it's for him. And, maybe the one time a year that I'll see, some of the other folks. But I get that. A lot of times it's not just for me. It's to make sure that, I know that if I start saying the things that I want to say and holding people accountable for the things that I've saw all year long on social media or just in conversation, I know that then my grandmother's going to get upset, and then I know that, I'm going to ruin her holiday, and I don't want to do that because she's older and I don't know how much time is left there. So I think there's a lot of reasons to not show up in authenticity. And for me, it's just about, when I leave there, is it really going to matter if I said my piece or not? Am I really going to feel lighter for the stay? And if the answer is yes, then maybe say what I got to say. But if the answer is no, then I don't know, just turn the blind eye. I don't know. It's a really tricky place to be and to grapple with. But I make the same decision every year, just like you, to show up and ignore it, and to comply and to be the Amanda that people want to see. And then we do it all over again in a year.
You make so many good points. I mean, the mitigating risk. All right, I won't be authentic in this moment, because if I am authentic, if I say my piece, if I am just who I am in this moment, it's going to turn this really uncomfortable hour, 4 hours, 8 hours together into something that lasts all year long because
Yep.
of the drama. So I think that's a great justification. Great. It's totally mitigation of risk. But also I think maybe, and this is why it can be hard for folks with the holidays in general when it comes to shadow as well. For me, it's hard because I worked so hard to find boundaries and have my voice, that when I choose not to use it, it's almost painful. But the key word in that was choose. I
Yep.
I am not just a victim of circumstance anymore. Sitting at 12 years old watching my whole family deny the reality of my uncle's addiction. I'm 52 and I am choosing not to say anything, not to contribute one way or another. And choice, that helps, that reminds me that, okay, I've done that shadow work. I still have my voice. I still live in authenticity. I just have to be flexible.
Yeah, well, and also like here's the reality is when I show up in my authenticity, if I'm undigestible for other people, then what good is my authenticity in that moment? If they're not able to learn from that or to grow themselves, then are they really worth me giving them that part of myself? Like at that point, I don't really feel safe even being that version of authentic. So it's like even a protection sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I can protect my peace and my integrity and my authenticity by not giving all of that to you right now.
And
You haven't did the work to deserve it, so why would I just freely give it?
that basically means what I just realized listening to your explanation was we then become the shadows to the other people at the table that are the shadow stuff we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That they may have trouble showing up in truth teller shoes and we are truth tellers. So whoop, we don't think that is a shadow trait, but if you're denying it, the truth teller is the shadow trait for sure. And that totally explains why when you're the truth teller, this in my family in particular, if you're the truth teller, you're also the black sheep. Well, really, it's not that you're the black sheep, it's that you're the shadow carrier and you're holding up a big mirror and nobody wants to look in it.
Yeah, so instead of shadow work, now we're doing mirror work.
Oh,
I just want
Lord.
to take a second and shout out Travis. Hey, Travis. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're feeling good and that you're able to get some rest while we're taking a little reset from work and doing a little work from home again.
So glad you're here, Travis.
I
Thanks
know.
for
If you haven't
coming
got a chance
home.
to come to PRN and connect with Travis, you are missing out. Travis is the coolest human I have ever met. And wow, he's really got just an amazing story of overcoming and of just learning who he is. And he's a cool person. So if you haven't met Travis, yeah, you're definitely missing out for sure.
I totally ditto that.
Yeah.
And I want to say, Travis, you have the most calming energy of anyone I've ever met. I can just
Yeah.
sit in the room with you and feel 10 degrees calmer than whatever's going on. So can I bring you to Christmas dinner?
Right.
We bottle that energy and send it out to people across the country who need help with their
Right.
holiday meals.
Right.
Oh.
Uh, if
Well,
we could, that would be so helpful.
oh my gosh, Travis would be a bazillionaire. You'd have to get us, we get a percentage of that or something for marketing you today, Travis.
Right, right. We're managers now.
So there were some other questions built on holiday theme today. One of them, be ready again. Go with what pops in your head. What causes you stress or anxiety during the holidays? And what can you do to make it better? So, one more time, what causes you stress or anxiety during the holidays? And what can you do to make it better this time? Oh, I'm bringing Travis with me. That's what I'm doing to make it better.
I'm challenging my inner Travis.
Oh, what brings anxiety? It's all the expectations. You nailed it when you were talking about the picture perfect hallmark image of holiday gatherings. I think that's what creates the most anxiety for me because I know the expectation is there somewhere in me, but I also know the reality isn't. Um, and I also, the anxiety going in, knowing I'm going to have to put authentic parts of myself to the side because the gathering is about peace and love and time together. And
Yeah.
you know, that's the anxious part.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, well, so Travis chimed in and said that being around certain family members can be stressful. And I think that the three of us, Travis, Jane, and myself, can all agree with that. Um, for me, it's not just about certain family members, it's about people in general. It goes back to the expectation. There's this expectation around the holidays that people are smiling and cheerful and are ho ho hoing and are giving. And, you know, not all of us come into the holiday season with it to give. And not all of us are happy. And some of us are experiencing some really difficult things. And those are the things that give me anxiety during the holidays, is the expectation that I'm supposed to be, Cindy Lou Who and ready for Christmas and to decorate the town. And when you come to my house, there's not a Christmas tree up because this is my space and I get to have it feel the way that I want it to feel. And all that is not a great time to me all the time. I like to see it periodically when I choose to, right? But like just there all day, every day isn't a good time for me. And even just like, I don't know, the mannerisms of the public change a lot during the holidays. And people in public become ruthless. They become like piranhas. And then that triggers that like fight or flight within me. And now I'm ready to like, revert back to some ways that I've worked really hard to come through and be different from. So
isn't that interesting? It's holidays. It's supposed to be about peace and graciousness and giving. And you go out shopping, and like you said, people can be piranhas. And hey, Lynn, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Lynn, long time no see.
Oh man. So basically, yeah, people don't necessarily bring their best selves to the holiday season, even total strangers. And oh man, if that's not anxiety inducing, I don't know what is. It's the expectation that the holiday is going to be stressful now because we can expect it to be stressful in public venues. How sad is that?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Lynn says she doesn't associate for long with people she doesn't feel safe with. And I get that. There are some places I can go and stay for 30 minutes, and some places I can go and stay for 4 hours. Yeah. And sometimes it just takes having that one person there to help me create that safety. Travis said Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas helps. That's my favorite holiday song. So I get it, Travis. It helps me get there and back too.
Well, and Amanda, you said that the holiday for you is the doing things that feel good to you. If it's not having a tree, or if it's just going somewhere for 30 minutes instead of 4 hours, I think that mindset can help us change the feelings going in, the anxiety going into holiday season and all the things that we expect to happen, at our family gatherings or in public, whatever. That holidays don't have to be the hallmark expectation and the whole leave it to beaver perfect family life. It's holidays should be about doing the things that make you and your family happy and comfortable and bring you joy, not feelings of anxiety or burdens and so on. And it's just so intermingled. I think that also contributes to the high stress of the holidays. But what you do to make it better is you limit time when you need to, or you don't put up Christmas trees. What do I do? What can I do to make it better this year? Well, we're actually not traveling this year, so it's an interesting time to do that. Oh, I can tell you one thing that we've done this year to make it easier. The pandemic kind of sucked our I don't know, our celebratory spirit out of us. Everyone was just surviving for a while. And this year, all three of us, Larry, Grant, and I, were just at the beginning of December thinking, oh, it's going to be so much work to pull everything out of the attic. And we have all of these beautiful family ornaments. They're like special. We have an ornament that has a story with it. And part
Yeah.
of the experience is remembering the story and talking about it and putting it all up. And this year we're like, let's just go to Hobby Lobby and buy those plastic, not breakable ornaments and put those on the tree. And that's what we did. So we didn't
Love
haul
that.
everything out of the attic. we got
I love that.
we got a new tree last year for the first time in 20 something years, and it has lights already in it. So that was about making it easy. And then this year we got the unbreakable ornaments and just popped them all up. It was all done in under an hour. Usually it can be like a 4-hour affair. So that's what we did.
Yeah, take some of the pressure off. It's just not that deep, right? Like, it just is not. I feel like for me, when I just give myself grace to, like you said, show up in the most authentic version that I feel safe showing up as.
Yeah.
And there's the key word, just to go back to Lynn, that I feel safe giving people, then everything just doesn't feel as big. And that really helps for me a lot too. I love that y'all just bought the non-breakable ornaments, and I'm curious to see if, when all this is over and said and done, if you're just like, these didn't even cost that much. We're just going to throw them away. We're not even going to store them. Forget it.
Oh, no, I'm keeping those because there's probably going to be other Christmases where we're too tired to do it. I want to have my backup plan.
Plan B, perfect.
Totally. Plus, we have these 2 really big black labs, so they can knock stuff off the bottom of the tree this year, and nothing's going to make me cry. It'll just bounce, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
So it's not all negative stuff when we talk about the shadow. There's a gift in the work that we do individually around our own shadows, and there are good things that happen as we're able to start recognizing it in others. So for our holiday gift to you, here are some things that are the reminders of when your shadow work is starting to work. One is that other people's behaviors don't trigger you like they used to. I can see all of you guys in my head out there. Some of you going, well, yeah, but some of those people that still do trigger me are going to be at that table. But
progress, not perfection.
Totally. And give yourself a moment to appreciate the areas where you're not triggered. Like I have this ex-husband from long, long, long ago, and I don't know, maybe 5 years after we got divorced, and I'd been doing therapy really, really intensely for several years, I realized that the things that went wrong for us were not because I was bad, he was bad, or any of that. It's just we weren't compatible. And boom, all of that stuff, all that history, it just didn't trigger me anymore because I could kind of own my own stuff in it. And I could see him as just the human he is and not the, butthead that I thought he was for a long time. And so that's a release of a trigger. How about you for this one, Amanda? Your shadow work's working when you drop blame and denial.
I think it's the blame part. Especially like since coming home from incarceration, because like I said, a lot of things changed in my family when I came home, and for a very long time I blamed myself for those changes, and those changes were felt the most during the holiday times. And so I think like being able to not feel that blame and that shame and that grief anymore, that I didn't cause this divorce, I didn't do this. Was my situation a circumstance, maybe another little like thread in the quilt? Yes, but this was years and years and years of stuff. And so I think that is like the blame piece for me, when I don't blame myself for that anymore. I didn't have that kind of power. That was not my relationship, and that's been freeing because I really struggled with that for a long time.
That's powerful. All right, the next one. You judge other people and yourself less, which is, I think, exactly what you were just describing, Amanda.
I don't know, because I still be judging people.
But you do it less. Less is the key word there. Progress
over perfection. Yeah. Using my own stuff on me.
I'll say this: when I'm feeling and being judgmental, I automatically go to shoot. What shadow part of that is me? So I can't even enjoy the moment of being judgmental. I have to process it and try to own
uh,
my own stuff. Kind of
Being
ruined it.
on a healing journey is such a blessing and a curse, man. Sometimes I just want to judge people, and I can't even do it in peace anymore.
I know. I know. People watching can be so fun, but not if your voice is like, "Mm-mm."
Right?
Another one is you're no longer afraid to be seen. And I think that ties into the authenticity conversation about having to make the choice to be
Yeah.
quiet sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm. And then the last one is your life has become more peaceful. Ooh, that was a hard one. That
Yeah.
was a hard one. It's not perfect, but when I look back, I have this one of my longest friends. She and I talk about this a lot. We've been friends since we were 13. We thrived on drama. We thrived on it. And part of the healing was getting over the need for drama, but
Uh-huh.
then there's the missing of it, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
oh,
Yes, you grieve that.
yes. I mean, it's a wonderful sign that our shadow work is working. It's a wonderful sign that we're healing and growing, but there's still the grief of, oh, that used to feel a certain that was the norm. That's what was normal, or that's what love felt like, or that's what
Yep.
family felt like. And it's just different. And there's grief that goes with that. There's also
Yeah.
freedom. There's a lot of freedom, but also some grief.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is twofold. I know Anna and I talk about that often. We've talked about some of our past relationships and how they were so unhealthy and so toxic, and we knew they were, but why did we go back? And it's the grieving of the toxicity and the insanity and the chaos, and that's all we knew for however long we knew it. And when something different happens, it feels different, and different can feel like a rub and not a good rub.
Mhm.
God, yeah, that really just that's when people don't really think about when they start those changes. That God, we may grieve the life that we had, and the people that were in it, but the other side of that is freedom, like you said, and peace and joy, um, that comes from myself and not from someone else.
Yeah.
But God, it took a while to get there.
And it's an everyday piece of work. Like you
Yeah.
don't come to the end of the road, you're healed and that's it.
Yeah.
Darn. Well, it
God, I
starts again.
wish. I wish. Can I just hit the finish line?
Yeah. When we're done with today's class, we'll all know how to deal with the shadows at our gatherings this year, and it'll all be perfect and wonderful. Yes, please sign
Well,
me
I'll
up.
let you. I'll let you know on Monday. My first one is on Saturday, so we'll see.
Oh, oh.
I know.
Well, you've got a whole bunch of people here sending you a lot of good energy for that.
Yeah.
And we know from you sharing with us that you'll either leave early or not, or whatever feels right to you.
The COVID may still just be here.
Yeah. Well, we have all had COVID over the past week or been right around it. So it's the
Yeah.
truth. Oh, Lynn, you're right. It's not linear. The journey's not linear, but here we are. It's part of the fun. We get better each loop. I think of it as a loop or like a tornado, like a shape of a tornado where the loops
Yeah.
started out really big, and the older I get, they get a little smaller, but I still circle back around to whatever it is I have to work on. And the holidays give me a chance to do that every single year. So
Every year.
the gift of giving. I'm given the opportunity to grow every year,
Yep.
for better or worse. So, as we wrap up today, remember to acknowledge yourself for even thinking about and talking about or answering some of these questions, or even just joining us to talk about shadow, especially around the holidays, with the anxiety and stress that holidays bring. Also, remember that there are there are points of positivity in there. There's your family of choice. They're the people who you feel good being around. There's the shows you love to watch, or the hot chocolate and the blanket. There are lots of positives in our holidays too. It doesn't have to just be overrun with our anxieties. So give yourself a big hug, and credit for doing this kind of work, because it is every day. And thank you, as always, for checking in with us and being part of this journey together. And thank you, Amanda, for being the guest speaker, guest conversationalist this week. I hope you'll come back with Alex and I next time, or, and maybe part of a panel. I feel like we could, if we had a panel of PRN team members, holy cow, we'd need longer than our 50 minutes. That's for
right.
Sure. Awesome.
Well, I hope I was a good fill-in for Alex. Alex was definitely missed. So hopefully she'll be back on the next Hello Shadow, and we can all enjoy watching and joining in conversation with y'all. But thank you for having me here. It was a great time.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.